Let's just be friends. My girlfriend of a year and a half delivered those 4 words with the kind of casual, practiced grace you'd expect from someone reciting a grocery list. She didn't look nervous. She didn't look heartbroken. She just sat there in that overpriced coffee shop on a Tuesday afternoon, wrapping both hands around her latte, and sighed with a touch of theatrical weight. She told me I was really important to her, but that the romantic spark had simply fizzled out. She expected me to crumble. She expected me to beg for a break or a chance to work on things. She expected the typical emotional labor that I had been providing for 18 months to continue under a new, less demanding label. Instead, I looked her right in the eyes, felt a strange, cooling sensation of absolute clarity wash over me, and replied, "Perfect." That one word, perfect, actually made her blink. She leaned back, her brows furrowing for a split second before she recovered her smug composure. "Wait, really?" she asked. I just nodded and smiled. "Yeah, friends, it makes sense." She smiled then, visibly relieved, and launched into a long, self-congratulatory speech about how mature this was of us. She joked that nothing would really change, that we'd still be best people for each other. I didn't correct her. I just paid for my coffee, wished her luck with her busy week, and walked out. But in my head, a very different set of rules was being written. See, what Jenna didn't realize is that I'm a man of systems. I work in digital marketing. I understand the value of a contract. When she changed the terms of our agreement, she lost the premium subscription to my life. She was now on the basic tier. And as any user knows, the basic tier comes with very limited access and a lot of boundaries. I'm 28, and for the last year and a half, I had been the steady, reliable foundation for Jenna. I was the guy who listened to her hour-long rants about her office drama. I was the guy who moved her furniture, fixed her Wi-Fi, and provided constant emotional validation. I didn't realize it until that Tuesday, but our relationship had been a slow erosion. I had been subsidizing her life with my emotional and physical labor while she slowly withdrew her affection. This is a common psychological phenomenon known as the slow fade. It's when one partner emotionally detaches months before the physical breakup, leaving the other partner to do all the heavy lifting until the final closure meeting. Jenna thought she was being clever. She thought she could keep the benefits of my presence without the responsibility of being a partner. She was about to receive a masterclass in what just friends actually looks like in the real world. The shift happened immediately. The next morning, around 8 a.m., my phone buzzed with the usual text. "Did you sleep okay?" Normally, I would have replied within minutes, usually with a heart emoji and a question about her morning. Instead, I set my phone face down and went to the gym. I worked my full 8 hours. I focused on my clients. I didn't reply until 6 p.m. My response was short, light, and clinical. "Yeah, thanks. Hope you had a good day." There was no follow-up, no opening for an emotional check-in. Jenna noticed the lag instantly. That evening, she did something she hadn't done in weeks. She actually called me. Not a FaceTime, which implies intimacy, but a regular voice call. I let it ring twice before picking up. "Hey," she said, her voice sounding slightly tilted. "You sound distant." I laughed softly, leaning back in my chair. "I'm not, Jenna. I just got back from the gym and I'm heading out soon." There was a long, ringing silence on the other end. "Oh," she finally said, "you usually text me when you get home." I kept my tone breezy. "Yeah, usually. But things are a little different now, right?" She laughed awkwardly, trying to reclaim the high ground. "Right. Mature. So what are you doing tonight?" I told her the truth. I was grabbing dinner with a friend. She perked up immediately, her voice gaining that familiar, investigative edge. "Oh, who?" I just smiled to myself. "Just a friend," I said. "Does it matter?" That annoyed her. I could hear her stirring her tea aggressively on the other end. In psychology, this is called access entitlement. Jenna felt that because she had occupied the role of girlfriend for so long, she still owned the rights to my schedule and my social circle. She hadn't realized that when she resigned from the position, she lost her security clearance. She tried to pivot, suggesting we hang out like old times since we were friends now. I told her I couldn't tonight and maybe we'd find a time next week. She let out a sharp theatrical sigh. Wow, Mark, you changed fast. No, I replied calmly. We did. Welcome to Story Sparks. I am your collaborator in decoding the complex scripts of human behavior. If Mark's decision to enforce immediate, radical boundaries resonates with you, or if you've ever been friend-zoned by someone who still wanted your labor, please hit that subscribe button right now. We are building a community of people who value their time and self-respect. Nearly 90% of our viewers aren't subscribed yet. Let's change that today. Your support helps us keep the sparks of truth flying. Now let's get into the moment Jenna realized her new friendship didn't include a personal assistant. About a week into our new arrangement, the friendship protocol was tested. Jenna texted me late on a Thursday night. Hey, I bought this new bookshelf from IKEA and I can't get the base to align. Can you come over and help? I'll buy you a beer. In the past, I would have dropped everything, driven across town, and spent 3 hours building furniture while she scrolled on her phone. But that was boyfriend Mark. Friend Mark has a different set of priorities. I checked my calendar, waited an hour, and replied, I can't tonight, I've got plans. You should try TaskRabbit, they're great for that kind of stuff. She didn't like that at all. She fired back, you never used to say no to me. I replied with a simple, factual statement, I know. That was when we were dating. The silence that followed was heavy enough to feel through the screen. A few minutes later, she sent, You're really leaning into this friends thing, huh? God, you're being so literal. I didn't mean you stopped showing up for me. This is a classic example of moving the goalposts. Jenna wanted a specific kind of friendship, the kind where I remained her unpaid emotional and physical support system, while she remained free to pursue other romantic interests without the guilt of a relationship. By being literal, I was forcing her to face the reality of her own decision. I wasn't being mean, I was being accurate. I didn't lecture her. I didn't explain that friends don't expect free labor on demand. I just maintained the boundary. This is the gray rock method applied to post-breakup dynamics. I became uninteresting and unavailable for her drama. The guilt-tripping escalated over the next few days. She started posting vague book stories on Instagram, pictures of old spots we used to visit with captions like, Some people only care when they need something, or missing the days when loyalty meant something. I watched them, put my phone down, and went to work. I knew exactly what she was doing. She was trying to provoke a reaction, any reaction, to prove she still had a string to pull. When I didn't bite, she switched strategies. Suddenly, the mean Jenna disappeared and the sweet Jenna returned. She started sending random compliments. You've been looking really good in your recent posts, followed by a winky face. I replied with a thumbs-up emoji. That was it. No thanks, you too. No, I miss your face. Just a digital acknowledge and move on. That thumbs-up emoji was the final straw for her. That evening she asked to meet for a drink, just like old times as friends. I agreed, but on my terms. A public bar near my office, 1 drink and a firm 60-minute time limit. She showed up dressed like she was going on a high-stakes first date. She had the intentional hair, the perfume that she knew I liked, and an outfit designed for maximum attention. Within 5 minutes, she was stirring her drink aggressively and complaining about how distant I had become. I feel like you're punishing me for being honest about my feelings, she said. I looked at her entirely unbothered and said, I'm not punishing you, Jenna. I'm treating you like a friend. My friends don't expect emotional priority or constant availability. We're doing great, aren't we? Her jaw tightened. So you're just waiting to replace me, I shrugged. I'm just living my life. That was the moment she leaned back and whispered, I didn't think you'd move on this fast. I didn't bother correcting her. I hadn't moved on in the way she thought. I had simply moved out of the cage she'd built for me. I realized then that she didn't want me. She wanted the option of me. She wanted me to stay in the limbo zone while she figured out if the grass was greener elsewhere. But the limbo zone is a high-rent district, and I was no longer paying the bills. Then, the coworker complication entered the picture. I didn't plan it. It wasn't some grand revenge plot. It was a beautiful, chaotic accident of geography. There's a tech company called Axiom about 3 blocks from my firm. I'd seen a woman in the elevator several times, tall, with a sharp, intelligent gaze and a laugh that actually felt genuine. Her name was Lily. We had exchanged the usual elevator pleasantries for months, but never anything more. Until the Friday after my friendship drink with Jenna. I was at a casual happy hour with a few coworkers when Lily walked in with her team. We ended up at the same long wooden table. Lily was a breath of fresh air. She was in marketing just like me, but she had a secure attachment style that was immediately evident. She didn't play games. She didn't look at her phone while I was talking. She actually listened to my answers. At one point, she said, "You seem really grounded, Mark. It's rare in this city." I felt a jolt of something I hadn't felt in a year. I didn't feel like I was being evaluated. I felt like I was being seen. We talked for 40 minutes. It was easy. It was light. It was real. Toward the end of the night, she mentioned she worked at Axiom. "Oh," she added casually, "I think I know your friend, Jenna. She's on the 4th floor, right?" It barely registered at the time. I just nodded and said, "Yeah, we're friends." Lily smiled, a real, unperformative smile, and said, "A few of us are grabbing coffee this Saturday if you want to join." No pressure. I said yes. I didn't text Jenna to tell her. I didn't post it to spite her. I just went. On Saturday, someone in the group posted a photo of all of us with our coffee cups, and they tagged me and Lily. An hour later, my phone exploded. It was a text from Jenna. "Is that Lily from my office? Since when are you guys friends?" I stared at the screen and realized that the "just friends" bomb she'd thrown at me had finally circled back to her. I replied with her own logic. "Yeah, we're friends, just grabbing coffee. Hope your weekend is going well." Jenna didn't reply for 3 hours. When she finally did, the mask was gone. "Wow, Mark, that was fast. I didn't mean you should go after people I have to see every single day. That's actually kind of low." I set the phone down. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. I had followed her rules to the letter. She wanted us to be friends. Friends meet new people. Friends date. And sometimes, friends date people who happen to work on the 4th floor. The bitchiness stopped being subtle after that. Jenna started sending me paragraphs of text, accusing me of disrespecting our history. She claimed Lily had a reputation for being a flirt, a classic move called character assassination, used by insecure exes to devalue the new partner. I didn't defend Lily and I didn't attack Jenna. I just kept my responses even. "I don't see the issue, Jenna. Friends don't get veto power over each other's dating lives. If you're uncomfortable, that's something you should probably talk to your therapist about." That message set her off. She left me on read for 48 hours. But while she was stewing in her own lost control, Lily and I were actually building something. The contrast was staggering. With Lily, there were no tests. No, "if you really loved me, you'd do X." When I told her I was busy with a project, she'd say, "Go kill it. Text me when you're done." She didn't take my productivity as a personal insult. The real explosion happened 2 weeks later. Lily and I had made it official, or as official as 3 weeks of great dates can be. We were at a local bar downtown with a few of her friends. It was a Friday night, the music was low, and the atmosphere was perfect. I was leaning in, listening to Lily tell a story about her chaotic dog when the front door opened. Jenna walked in with her roommate, Lauren. The moment our eyes met, the air in the room felt like it had been sucked out. Jenna froze. She saw my hand on Lily's arm. She saw the way I was looking at Lily, with the kind of genuine warmth that I had stopped giving her months ago. She looked shocked, then angry, and then, for a brief second, she looked utterly destroyed. This is what psychologists call narcissistic collapse. It happens when a person's false sense of superiority and control is completely dismantled by reality. Jenna realized in that moment that I wasn't her backup plan anymore. I wasn't even her friend. I was a man who had moved on to a better, more authentic version of happiness. She didn't wave. She didn't come over. She turned around and walked straight back out the door. Lauren followed her, looking back at me with a look that said, "You really did it." Later that night, the inevitable wall of text arrived. No hello, no how are you, just straight into the fire. She told me I was cruel on purpose, that I had timed it all to humiliate her, and that she couldn't believe I'd pick someone she had to see in the break room every morning. She accused me of being emotionally avoidant and said Lily was just a rebound. I read the message once. I read it twice. I thought about the 18 months of walking on eggshells. I thought about the IKEA bookshelf. I thought about the Just Friends latte. Then I typed the only sentence that mattered. "You told me we were friends, Jenna. This is what friends look like when they move on. I hope you find the peace you're looking for." I blocked her. Not out of anger. Not out of a desire for revenge. I blocked her because I realized that just friends was never going to work for someone who views relationships as a power struggle. I blocked her because I didn't want her basic tier access anymore. I was moving into a world where boundaries were respected and loyalty was a two-way street. A few months have passed now. Lily and I are still together, and it is the most uncomplicated relationship of my life. We argue sometimes, sure, but it's always about the issue at hand, never about our worth as people. There are no tests. There is no scorekeeping. I heard through a mutual friend that Jenna is still telling people I changed after the breakup, that I became cold and unavailable. I don't bother correcting it. From her perspective, I did change. I stopped being the person she could manipulate. I became consistent. I stopped offering access to my soul to someone who only wanted to use it for parts. Jenna's story is a textbook lesson in the cost of compliance. If you keep saying yes to a toxic partner, you are training them to treat you like a utility. The moment you start saying no, or in my case, perfect, you break the circuit. You force the truth to come to the surface. She thought just friends meant I would stay in her pocket waiting for her to whistle. She discovered that just friends actually meant I was finally free to find someone who wanted to be more than that. I told her to leave early if she wanted to hide me. So I left her life entirely, and I never looked back. The story sparks deep dive. Why the just friends trap fails. If you've ever been in Mark's position, you know the just friends offer is rarely about friendship. In relationship psychology, this is often a de-escalation tactic. The person breaking up doesn't want the bad guy label, so they offer a friendship that they have no intention of maintaining. They want to soothe their own guilt while keeping you on a leash, just in case their new plans fall through. Mark's success came from his refusal to negotiate the terms of his friendship. By treating Jenna exactly like a casual acquaintance, he mirrored her decision back to her. This is a form of reflective accountability. If she didn't like the way he treated his friends, then she had to admit that she didn't actually want a friendship. She wanted a subservient ex. When Mark started dating Lily, Jenna experienced a narcissistic injury. It wasn't just that he was dating. It was that he was dating someone within her social hierarchy, her coworker. This attacked her public image, which is often more important to a manipulator than the actual person they lost. Mark chose self-respect over the comfort of a familiar, albeit toxic, role. He realized that a friendship built on the ruins of a one-sided relationship is just a prison with a different name. If you were in his shoes, would you have been able to stay that calm? Or would you have eventually given in to the IKEA bookshelf request? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one, and your stories are what make this channel a spark for others. If this story reminded you that your time and emotional labor are not for rent, please hit that like button. It helps our message reach people who are currently trapped in the friendship limbo. And if you haven't yet, join the Story Sparks family by hitting that subscribe button. We are on a mission to reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Let's hit that goal together. I've selected 2 other powerful accounts of discovery and justice on the screen for you right now. One is about a man who used a silent exit to reveal his wife's secret life, and the other is a deep dive into the psychological red flags of a partner who keeps you a secret. Click one of them now to keep the momentum going. I'll see you in the next story. Stay strong, stay consistent, and remember, you are not a backup plan. I've learned that life is a lot like a marketing campaign. If the product is faulty, if the foundation is built on manipulation and ego, no amount of rebranding as a friendship will save it. You have to shut down the campaign and start over with something authentic. Mark's old life fell apart, but he surveyed the ruins and realized he was finally standing on solid ground. He's building something new now with Lily, and for the first time, he doesn't have to check the data to see if he's loved. He just knows. If you're feeling like a footnote in someone else's story, remember Mark. Remember that you have the power to close the book and start a new chapter. You have the power to set boundaries that protect your heart. We are here for you every step of the way. Share your story in the comments. Let us know how you reclaimed your time and your worth. Your words could be the exact spark that someone else needs to find their way out of the dark. Check out the links in the description for more resources on navigating difficult breakups and establishing healthy boundaries. We believe in empowering our community with knowledge. One last time, if you haven't subscribed, click that button. Join the Story Sparks family. Let's make sure the truth gets told. I'll see you in the next video. Stay vigilant.